Today's episode is sponsored by Ellii, Ellii.
Ellii is one of the world's leading content libraries for English language teachers, with thousands of ready-made lessons and flashcards and hundreds of videos that you can use to complement your own curriculum or use as your main source of materials.
Ellii is run by a team of former English teachers, dedicated to creating content that engages your language learners.
If you're an independent teacher or paying for your materials out of pocket, we invite you to use our podcast's exclusive discount code Think-Aloud to save 15% off your first membership term. That's THINKALOUD.
And if you're an administrator looking to buy for your whole program, just reach out to the fine folks at Ellii to inquire about a 2-month free trial to test it out for your organization. And don't forget to mention who sent you, your friends at the Teacher Think Aloud podcast.
Head to ellii.com today. That's ELLII.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Teacher Think Aloud podcast, a podcast for reflective practice for teachers of English around the world. I'm your co-host, Shay.
And I'm Anna.
And on today's episode, we sit down with Ben Buckwold and Tara Benwell from Ellii. But before we dive in, we want to invite you to contribute to our upcoming Friends of the Podcast episode. The deadline for submitting your voice memo is December 15th. We'd love to feature your voice, so go to bit.ly/backtobasics26 and answer some simple questions to participate.
We want to hear from you. Now back to Ellii. You may remember Ben and Tara from episode 60, From Teaching to Materials Writing, a Chat with Ellii.
That's right. And today we're learning all about one of their newest offerings in their ever-growing portfolio, Ellii Dilemmas.
Before we get into the conversation, we'll let you get acquainted or reacquainted with Ben and Tara.
My name's Ben Buckwold, and I'm the founder at Ellii, and I've been in this position for about 22 years. So I'm the founder, and I'm also still the CEO at the company. So I taught English in Japan for about 5 years, from 1997 till 2002. I also did a little bit of teaching when I got back to Canada. I moved back to Canada in late 2002 after starting Ellii. Ellii used to go by the name ESL Library. We changed it a couple of years ago, but I also continued to teach while I was running the business, and it was sort of a way to keep my foot in the door and help me make some better lessons at the time. So that was my career. It was about 7 years in teaching, and it was sort of in the mid-90s till the early 2000s.
I'm Tara Benwell. I am the VP of Publishing at Ellii, and I've been working for Ellii for most of my career, about almost 18 years now. And
Wow.
I started my ELT career as a teacher, like most do, back in the day, long ago. And then I transferred into more of a publishing career. So I taught for probably about 5 years, and then did a little bit of teaching online as well while I was in the publishing field.
If you're interested in learning the story of how Ellii came to be, head over to episode 60. We really enjoyed our first on-air conversation with Ben and Tara.
And this time was no different. Well, at least the enjoyment wasn't. What was different was that I conducted this interview alone.
Womp womp. Yeah, my day job prevented me from joining this one, but I knew you could hold down the fort, Shay.
Indeed. I did forget to ask them an icebreaker question, though, so not perfect execution.
Well, you probably were just really excited to hear about Ellii Dilemmas. I know I'm ready to learn more.
All right. Well, so tell me, what is Ellii Dilemmas and how did you come up with the idea? Sure. Go ahead, Ben. You got this.
So Ellii Dilemmas was born out of procrastination.
Nice.
So Tara and I were scheduled to meet at the end of a long day at a conference, and we had to meet on something that wasn't that interesting. We were working on a new assessment tool, and we had to sort of plan this thing out, and we just didn't feel like doing this. Like, we were meeting at sort of 6 p.m. after a long day, and we decided, you know what, we just don't have the energy to do this. Let's just at least do something productive, and let's just try to think of something fun, some kind of creative new game that we can add to Ellii. And so it sort of came out of this idea of like trying to avoid doing important work And we ended up building something that is today becoming one of our most successful features, which we can go into and tell you what it's about. But the idea of how it came was just out of us trying to not work on the more boring stuff and the tedious stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Go
Kind
ahead,
of how ESL Library was born too, right? It started with just doing fun stuff, making images and all those kinds of things and just making what we wanted until we started listening to everything that was actually needed. So it kind of brought us back to our roots a little bit that day. That's so
Totally.
cool. I love when great tools and ideas are born out of us procrastinating. And I mean, assessment, I think, is interesting in some regards, right? But when you can come up with like a cool new tool or a game, I think that sounds much more fun, definitely. And wasn't it done on like a cocktail napkin or something? Where did this actually happen?
Yeah. So it happened at the restaurant of the hotel of the conference that we were at. We were at the COAPE 2025 conference in, where was it, Dallas?
Mhm.
Yeah. And it was there at the restaurant that we were going to meet to do this assessment thing. But we didn't have any like paper with us, any pens, anything like that. We just were going to sort of talk through some of the problems of this assessment thing. So we weren't prepared to start, sketching out a new idea. And the only paper that we had was the napkin that was on the table, and we had to borrow a pen from the server. So that's how we started sketching the idea of it.
Yeah, we probably had our laptops.
I don't
You-
even know. We might have had them, but we certainly didn't know.
Probably
things.
why we used a napkin. We were tired of being on our computers. It makes sense especially after these really intense conferences that we attend, like we're sick of looking at screens and feeling so formal. So I love that it was just on a cocktail napkin, and hopefully there were cocktails next to the napkin also.
There were cocktails. The server was trying to convince us to buy like these like samplers of whiskey or scotch or something. That you could get 3 of them and you would sample them. And then the one that you liked, they would bring you the full glass of that. Right. Yeah. So Tara ordered that.
Dallas. Nice. Yeah. Well, I think that's just another ingredient for good ideas. I know Anna and I created this podcast while we were drinking wine. We did a hike and then we drank wine together and ate pizza, and we're like, we should start a podcast. So I think lots of great ideas are born sort of informally in that way.
Totally. So we thought of the idea April 1st or April 2nd, something like that. We got back to Canada a few days later, told the team it was in production. We were starting to make it by April 10th, I think. And we had released it by June 1st, maybe like 6 weeks later. So it's been up for about 2.5 months now, and already 2,000 teachers have used this in their classrooms. So it's seeing a real big uptick. 2,000 people already in 2.5 months, 2,000 teachers are using it already in their classroom. So it's really growing fast.
Yeah. That's amazing. And what a quick turnaround. You presented it and then just a few weeks later, you were ready to share it with the world. I can only imagine that the users are going to just increase exponentially over the next couple of months.
We hope so, yeah, in the fall.
So we recorded this episode back in August and we're releasing it in November. So we decided to check back in with Ben and Tara and see how many people Ellii Dilemmas has reached.
And no surprise, they're close to about 4,000 users at this
Whoa.
point,
Mhm.
nearly doubling the amount of users in just a few months. Build it and they will come.
And I love how they built it too, how this product came to be. I think every teacher has that moment where an idea just happens in the middle of exhaustion. It's the
Mhm.
brain's way of saying, let's do something fun instead.
Yes, sometimes those moments lead to the most sustainable innovation. And this really harkens back to our conversation with Brent and Ishel from the Diesel Pod, where we discussed how giving your brain a break from output can be a really powerful way to recalibrate, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a reminder that creative work in education doesn't always start with strategy, but with curiosity.
And that spirit of curiosity really drove the creation of Ellii Dilemmas.
Let's learn about the product.
So tell us a bit about what Ellii Dilemmas actually is and some of the features that teachers can utilize.
You want to take that, Tara?
I mean, we should probably start with what we built first, which was Ellii Polls, which was an interactive activity that we built. When did we build it, Ben?
We built it about 1.5 years ago, I think.
Right. Yeah, and it's a free feature that we have. And we hope to bring lots of people over to Ellii to give it a try and see what type of content we make, what kind of topics we cover. So that was a feature that we built. And this is something that we built on top of using some of the similar type of technology. So we wanted to build another interactive game. So we built Ellii Dilemmas. Where did it come from, Ben?
Well, so just to go back on Ellii polls, the idea behind Ellii polls is that everybody pulls out their phone and the teacher presents a topic, a poll sort of topic in front of the class, and a series of questions pop up and people answer them with a yes, no, or agree, disagree kind of thing. And the percentages show up in front of the class. And the idea is that the poll could be on anything. It could be something serious or something light. After each poll is presented, students get together and they talk to each other about their opinion on what they've just presented. The idea is that you're sort of interactive with these phones, but you're not using the device to be on the device. You're just using the device to answer the question. And then everybody talks about the answers together. So that was Ellii polls. Ellii Dilemmas was taking that concept of using the phone to just sort of prompt an answer and then a prompt discussion from that answer, using that same technology, but this time around a dilemma. So, we've been in the situation before where somebody says, like, would you rather, or those kinds of things. We decided to do this where we would give you a dilemma and we would give you sort of no easy answer. There's no like one right answer. Both of them are kind of like wrong answers or hard answers to choose from, but you can only choose A or B. And so an example of that is you've been noticing that a very hardworking coworker at work who's been struggling financially has been stealing from the petty cash a little bit of money to help his family, but he's a really hard worker. What do you do? And the choices are you report the coworker to your boss or you turn a blind eye and do nothing. That's it. You can just do one or the other. And so the students were presented with this on their phone, then in front of the class on the overhead, and they each answer that one question of which they would choose. And then in front of the class, it shows you that maybe 70% said they would turn the coworker in and 30% said that they wouldn't. Mm-hmm. The next step after that is the system pairs people up and they have to go and sit with the other partner and say which one they chose and why they chose it. And finally, there's another step where students can sort of talk in front of the class and present why they chose what they chose and maybe have they been influenced a little bit from their partner to think differently. And the last step is that the dilemma is presented one more time and they vote again. And they see if the results have swayed or changed in any way. So you might see that at the beginning, it was 70% said that they would turn them in and 30% didn't. But by the end of it, maybe it's 50-50 or maybe it's 30-70 the other way because the person that you've been talking to has made you think differently about it. So it's a way for students to engage, have a conversation, a debate, a discussion, a dialogue, and to just really get into it,
Yeah, they get to see that, if they can express themselves properly, if it can sway their peers or teacher even. So I really love the last step. One of my favorite parts is when you see the votes again and you can compare them and say, like, wow, it's something that he said or she said that made me change my mind. And I think that's like really important because we're teaching them English for a reason, not just like memorized expressions or words, vocabulary. We need them to be able to use it in a meaningful way. So that's why we love it.
That's right. Well, I love it. I actually, before we hopped on, I had a chance to watch the tutorial. Ben, you created this great comprehensive tutorial for teachers, a screen share video, walking them through how to use it. And I love the interactivity that this facilitates. You've built that into the process, this tech-enabled discussion that's happening. And I think I saw that there was a keyword or key phrases list as well. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was Tara's idea. Why don't you say how that works, Tara?
Yeah, so it's just a little extra pop-up area and we add keywords and sentence stems that students can use just to help them form their opinions and encourage them to use maybe some new vocabulary that they haven't used before, or hopefully some that they have used. These dilemmas are typically used by slightly higher level learners who are ready to express their opinions. Our Ellii polls that we have some really low level ones. We're getting more and more requests. Teachers want their lower level students to be able to use them. For these, we wanted to encourage students that are getting ready to be in the workplace. They really need to be able to use these higher level speaking tasks. So yeah, we think that extra part is really helpful. Keywords.
Absolutely.
And I love that it's asking students to work on their critical thinking and considering, real dilemmas that happen in real life. It's not just this classroom that is sort of a lab. It's really a microcosm, or it should be a microcosm for the world outside as well. So I think that this is a fantastic tool to support that thinking.
Right. We do
Yeah.
see from real life.
Yeah.
So look at them and I, oh yeah, that actually happened to
Oh
me.
man, yeah,
Yeah,
of
so that's
course.
helpful. If you ever have one that you want to share, let us know.
I have a lot of dilemmas. I think we all do, yeah.
Tara, what's some of the other examples? Like I used the one that's the crooked coworker is the title of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the other ones?
We're doing some that are about school, some that are related to workplace, and some that are more like relationship wise. The forbidden romance is the one where the girl is telling her parents about who she wants to marry, and the parents are not impressed, and she has to she's going to disappoint her parents or her fiance. The unsafe drivers about elderly drivers. Your parent wants to get their license again. They're elderly, and you have to decide whether they should not be getting their license. But it makes it a lot easier for you because you don't have to drive them everywhere. So that's the unsafe driver. The most recent one we did was about, it's called the plastic polluter. And it's about someone who they work for a small company. It's an eco-conscious company, and people at the company decide that they want to get a water refill station. So they get one, and the owners buy nice, reusable water bottles, but one person is just not on board and not using them and uses it as a flower vase instead. So they have to decide, what they should do. Like, should they confront this person or
Poison the flowers.
Yeah. So I'm just mainly the three categories that we're using right now: workplace, academic, and relationships. So.
Yeah.
And some of them are just kind of like fun too, or it doesn't really matter which answer you choose. But like one of them is you're on your way to a party or to work or something, or you're late and you're trying to get somewhere and you see a friend is pulled over on the side of the highway with a broken car. Do you stop and help them, or you keep going to the thing? And I forget what the scenario was, but
Yeah, more important than a party.
oh, okay, it's an interview.
Well, I guess ask the question, like, how good of a friend are you? Right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it wasn't a party. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of teachers do debates and, critical thinking skills in their classroom. I love that this really lends itself to the many different contexts that we as teachers find ourselves in.
As a request from a teacher in a conference. Where,
Yeah, there was sort of some background idea of somebody had asked us
someone
about
was
this.
asking.
Yeah.
You have any-
But one of the things that, just speaking about what you were just saying, Shay, is that, teachers want to have this opportunity for students in class to speak, to have conversations, debate, discussion, dialogue. But often they don't have the prompts to prompt them to speak. And the nice thing about Ellii Dilemmas is that it's sort of got a formula of like, first you do this, then you do this, and then you do that. Each one of those things that you do ends up putting students in a position where they are free to speak, but they're pushed into that sort of freedom area to speak, right? So they're not just sort of sitting around wondering what to do. There's sort of a leveled progression of discussion that moves along, and they always just feel like now it's time to do this, now it's time to do that. And once they do those things, they're actually in a free discussion. So it's constantly promoting and prompting a free discussion, but it's helping the teacher move those steps along to get the students in a position to really want to talk and speak up. In fact, there's a button on the app called Speak Up, and when they click it, their name appears in front of the board saying that they'd want to say something. It's a little different than raising your hand. It's like, no, I have something to say here. It's not just a question with raising my hand. I actually have a point to make here, and Speak Up sort of names appear all over the board, and the teacher can click on any of those Speak Up names and ask that student to start talking. So it's a lot of opportunity to speak based on prompts. And that's something that we really love about it.
And it can be done online in an online teaching environment. If you have breakout rooms, that would be really great. Or also it can be done in a traditional classroom. So we did design it that way specifically.
Yeah. It's great. I love the blended learning, the hybridity of this tool. And to your point, Ben, you're describing a gradual release of, moving towards becoming an autonomous language user. The students have this sort of built-in scaffolding in this tool where they have the support, they have the language, and they even have the buttons to say like, okay, I feel brave enough now and I'm ready to speak up. I love that.
Ellii is so tuned into teachers' needs, and Ellii Dilemmas really shows that. They're not just hearing feedback, they're acting on it.
Absolutely. Well, most teachers bring debate into their classrooms in some way,
Mhm.
and this tool works in just about any context too, whether you're teaching in an intensive English program at a university or a
Mhm.
community-based program for adults. We all have dilemmas.
But this takes it further. It gives
Mhm.
teachers a ready made way to spark real dialogue around meaningful situations.
Right. And that's what I love about it. It moves beyond quick agree or disagree moments and turns them into real conversations.
Mhm.
Students learn to listen, reconsider, and respond thoughtfully.
Exactly. It's that shift from debate to dialogue, such an essential skill for the 21st century.
Hmm.
We could all benefit from practicing that kind of listening.
And I think that's sometimes overlooked in language teaching. Comfort with a language is also comfort with social interaction.
Yeah, staying in the conversation, even when you disagree.
Mhm.
That's what makes this tool so relevant and so human.
And it goes beyond just giving students something to talk about. It encourages them to think, analyze, weigh choices,
Mm-hmm.
just like they would in real life, where there's rarely one right answer.
Right. These dilemmas reflect real world complexity. They push students to question assumptions and consider how their choices affect others.
Yeah. And that only works when teachers create a space where students feel safe expressing their ideas. And that's when dialogue and empathy really flourish.
Exactly. Students practice decision making in a safe space, experiment, rethink, and grow. That's where critical thinking and emotional intelligence develop.
And empathy too.
Mm.
They learn to understand others' perspectives, something we all need more of, especially right now.
That's what makes this kind of task transformative in a way.
Mhm.
It's more than teaching a language. It's about helping students engage thoughtfully and compassionately with the world.
Teaching critical thinking through tools like Ellii Dilemmas gives learners skills that go far beyond the classroom.
Absolutely. Curiosity, confidence, and empathy, those are the real goals. And
Mhm.
doing it all with reflection and a little grace.
Couldn't have said it better.
Hmm.
Here's to continuing to champion approaches that help learners think critically, communicate meaningfully, and connect humanely.
And here's one last tidbit from Ben.
Yeah.
You don't have to purchase this. You just have to create an account, but the account is free to do. So we encourage people to use it whenever they want. And there's no catch to it. There's not a limited time of free. It's always free. So just jump on and use it whenever you want. And enjoy.
If you have any ideas, you can always let us know. We love hearing ideas from teachers. So
I love that. Awesome. Well, yeah, I love free and I love sharing free resources with, listeners. So I'm sure that people will be really excited to hear about this if they haven't already been experimenting. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Listeners, we hope you'll check out Ellii Dilemmas and polls.
Such easy to use tools to spice up your classroom conversations. Do you have any ideas how you might implement them?
If you found this episode helpful or inspiring, please share it with a friend or colleague or leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on your platform of choice, and we hope you'll consider contributing to our upcoming Friends of the Podcast episode. Leave us a voice memo at bit.ly/backtobasics26.
Remember that the deadline to contribute is December 15th. We'd love to feature your voice.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Teacher Think-Aloud podcast. And until next time, friends, happy teaching
and happy reflecting.